The Lions losing 28-25.
Ooh.
28-25 to the Buffalo Bills. We have a lot to talk about from this game. But of course, I can't forget or acknowledge that the game is tomorrow. Michigan, Ohio State. Winner represents the Big Ten East in the Big Ten Championship game. Likely goes to the college football playoff. So much on the line. The first time both teams are undefeated. But let's start with the Lions. That was... And you know what, Jeff? Before we get into the why or the blame game, can I kind of like serve it up a little bit here?
Please.
Going into the game, what was your hope? What was your expectation? On the best, I would say, in the best case scenario of an inevitable loss, it would have been a close game, a one-possession loss, a game where you gave Buffalo everything, but they just had more talent than you, and that's why they won.
For me, it was cover the 9.5.
Right.
At home.
And they did.
Yeah.
And the Lions showed you a lot of really good things. And I want to start with the positive things because I didn't walk away yesterday thinking, here we are. It's time to, get my show sheet out and start writing my notes. And I'm very angry. I'm going to write a long email to the Lions. I am. It is unbelievable. I am disappointed. I am.
You didn't think about that 3-letter acronym?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But they played like it towards the end. And I want to get to that a little later. What the Lions did was they did what you wanted them to do. You didn't want them to get embarrassed on Thursday Night Football. You wanted them to go out and take advantage of a team that was on a short week, just like they were. A team that had to fly basically twice in, 72 hours. To and from Detroit, to Buffalo, then back to Detroit. And this is a team that is better than you. They have a better quarterback. They have a more proven head coach. They have better wide receivers. They have a lot of things that are better than you. A defense that is better than you, even if they were banged up. Okay, cool. The Lions showed you some fight. They showed you a game plan. They showed you their way to not only stay in the game, but possibly win it. Unfortunately, and this is the common theme, untimely calls, coaching decisions, clock management continue to haunt this team. It happened against Philly, happened against Minnesota. This is a trend. This is a common theme here. And for 3 weeks, you avoided it. Then you went back to your roots. And now you're making those same mistakes again. Not the end of the world.
Right.
It's not the season's over. It's not, I'm so upset that they lost to the Bills. Not at all, actually. Am I quite frustrated that they blew an opportunity to really vault themselves into the playoff conversation? Yeah, I'm very disappointed. Yeah, I'm very frustrated with that. I went into that fourth quarter genuinely believing, I mean this 100% with my heart. I genuinely thought it was their day. Von Miller had gone down.
Yep.
Stephon Diggs had basically been irrelevant all day. The Bills really couldn't run the ball unless it was Josh Allen. The defense really didn't have an answer again for Ben Johnson and the offense of the Detroit Lions.
And Josh was putting the ball in harm's way.
Oh, yes, he was. Yeah. I really thought going into that fourth quarter, it was their game to lose. And you know what? They lost it. And you know what? We're going to talk about the 3rd and 1. You're going to talk about the possession before halftime, calling a play before the 2-minute warning instead of letting it run down. We're going to talk about all this. But can we step back a little bit before we get into the nitty-gritty of the game? Because you're going to point out mistakes that are going to make you all uncomfortable. That's the reality. You're going to cry. You're not going to like it. You're going to be mad at me. Oh, my God, Adam, why are you so mean? But if we all just take a step back, are they still on pace to win 7 games?
Yes.
I think so.
Yep.
They may win 8. 4 of the next 6 are very doable. Did they just play a hell of a game against a very good Buffalo Bills team? Yes, they did. You are seeing progress. I don't want today to be overshadowed by a few coaching decisions, lack of discipline by a certain player, execution by certain phases of the game, whether it's your short yard offense or your kicker. I don't want to mix all that into the macro. And the macro is, Jeff, and I want your thoughts on this. They're showing the improvement. They are playing better. Mm-hmm. They were in a game that I thought they were the better team for most parts of that game. They just weren't the better team when it mattered most, and that's what the NFL is now, one-possession games. So before we have all these conversations, Jared Goff shouldn't be the quarterback after the year, the 3rd and 1 call, not using your timeouts correctly, not going for it on 4th, whatever it may be.
Right.
Macro step back here. Players are getting better. The players are playing better. Coach took a step back. Bad decision. But overall, the team is improving. And they're going in the right direction. And they win 3 more games. Dare I say 4 out of the next 6. We're talking about a team that contends for the division next year. That's the expectation. A team that pushes for a playoff berth. That's the expectation. I don't want to lose sight of that, Jeff.
No.
What happened, happened. And we're going to get to that at 8:15. But I didn't want to start the show right into the decisions, the quarterback, the missed throw to Chark, the decision not to go for it on that 4th and 1, out of the common sense stuff that they just didn't pass yesterday. Austin Bryant being a total dickhead. I didn't want to start it that way because I think it's important to take a step back before we get into this whole show and acknowledge they put a performance yesterday I thought was heartbreaking. That was I hate to use this acronym because I think it's shitty. That was same old Lions. In theory, right? You play a great game and you blow it at the end. That is the standard, right? I don't agree with it, but that is what happened. But I don't want to walk away only with the negative. I do see a few positives. What do you think?
No, I'm in the same boat as you. I think a lot of it, especially what we asked of the Lions against the Buffalo Bills, they're the underdog, 9.5 points. You'd want them, you would expect them to cover, even without Jeff Okudah, without Josh Pascal, without Josh Reynolds, and they still played well enough.
What do you mean? Swap cables. Jeff, keep talking.
Okay, so again, back with James Houston. That's one of the bigger things I took away is what's different about, bringing up that same old Lions narrative. For me, James Houston, 2 sacks, fumble recovery. I believe he's the only Lions player in Lions history to produce a multi-sack game in their first career NFL game. So again, plenty of good things to take away, but it doesn't help how they ended the first half, how they ended the 4th quarter with that play call. And I'll get into it more later as we discuss it, but the difference in that game, when it was all said and done, was quarterback play. One team had Josh Allen, who, even though he was struggling, it's still Josh Allen. This is a guy who was in a shootout last year with Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. It took 14 seconds for Mahomes to win that game. And even with Josh not getting the ball is probably the bigger storyline, because Josh Allen can do these things, and Dan should know that. You give him any amount of time, even 20 seconds, he can still score. I mean, you could still go for a field goal. So, again, you have Jared Goff. Does Josh Allen take that safety? Does Josh Allen hit DJ Chark on that route? That's where I'd bring up Ben Johnson, because a part of it is knowing your quarterback. And this isn't the only time this has happened. I mean, you go back to when they played the Dallas Cowboys. They had that 3rd and 1 situation where they threw a go ball to Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds, the sun was in his eyes. They missed up on that opportunity. If you have as good of an offensive line as the Lions do, and you're in 3rd and 1, 85% of the time, that's got to be a run play. Unless you have one of those better top 5 quarterbacks that you believe can make those throws. With Jared Goff, we talked about it on 2 days ago. Jared's capable, but what's the percentage of him actually hitting that throw? It's not very high, I'll tell you that. So didn't like the play call, didn't mind the play call, but it was for the wrong quarterback. So again, a lot of bad things to take away, but also a lot of great things at the same time.
Let's go to the people a little bit. Let's hear everyone out. And by the way, the phone lines will be open all day. 313, Alex, if you don't mind, pin it to the top of the Woodward Sports chat. 313-552-6322. I want to hear, and really, not only myself, Jeff, but we had this conversation. We want to hear you. You are the fans. What do you think? What is your takeaway frustrations, positives, whatever it may be. Let's have that conversation this morning. Call in. Alex will pin the chat. Alex will pin it. He'll get it up, and we'll have that conversation. So again, this is the conversation we are going to have, Jeff. And I can understand throwing it. You can say whatever you want about the throw. It was a bad throw. Chark didn't read it correctly, didn't turn around, didn't adjust, whatever you want to say. At the end of the day, if you are going to pull out of a run play on 3rd and 1, you either A, call a timeout because you have 3 of them and draw up a new play because clearly Buffalo apparently had the answer for a run play.
Right.
Or 2, you throw the deep shot and you get creative on 4th down and try to convert. But at the end of the day, we'll get to the 3rd and 1 play coming up. We'll get to the clock management. But Jeff, am I off here by saying, yes, pathetic. Some of those decisions cost you the game. Austin Bryant, no excuse.
Yeah, players win and lose your games.
Okay,
coaching helps, but execution
I know,
is number
Jeff,
one. It really is.
I'm not in the business, and this is me. Tell me if I'm I don't mind. Tell me if Adam, you're off on this one.
Yeah.
I don't think Austin Bryant is a reflection of how the team played. I don't.
No.
But at the end of the day, you are responsible for your players. You are responsible situationally to have them composed. That's just the reality. And yes, if Jared Goff hits that pass, nobody's having this conversation this morning. Yeah, you're right. And if Jared Goff hits Brandon Cooks in the Super Bowl, he's a Super Bowl champ. And if Jimmy G hits whoever the hell that was, I think Emmanuel Sanders, they're Super Bowl champs. Don't play the if game with me. This is the NFL. You've won 3 straight. You just lost a heartbreaker against the Bills. You should be proud of the way your team played, the way they game planned, the way they executed for the most part. But clock management, late game decisions, that's the conversation this morning. When you become, because I do believe in this GM, when you become a team that fields one of the better rosters in the NFL, will this continue? That's my question.